Breaking news, a triple shooting inside a Safe Street zone hours after city leaders touted success. Fox 45 News has an update on one of the juvenile victims. Plus, we look into the multi-million-dollar funding increase Safe Streets is receiving and press city leaders on how that money will be spent to keep you safe. More and more people are leaving Baltimore.
I think a lot of the people have lost faith in where we're living.
New tonight, we examine the driving forces behind Baltimore's exodus. Residents taking different sides on the city adding more speed cameras.
And you think the cameras will help?
Yeah, it will definitely help.
They're just invasive.
We question if they will be effective despite their past issues. And we're seeing a stretch of rainy days ahead. Chief Meteorologist Jonathan Myers is timing out the worst of it and when it will roll through your neighborhood.
Live from WBFF in Baltimore, this is Fox 45 News at 10.
Breaking news from Baltimore as we come on the air at 10 o'clock. More lives are touched by gun violence in the city. In the course of 5 hours this afternoon, 6 people, including a 14-year-old, were shot around the city. One of them, a 28-year-old man, killed in West Baltimore. The violence coming hours after city leaders gathered to talk about public safety.
We are still losing way too many people to violence, but more specifically, young people.
Violence is a disease. It's a disease that's transmitted in a cycle.
The power of this work is the fact that it is a community coming together to solve our own problems.
Our work is far from done, but the progress made by the CVI ecosystem to date is encouraging and is worth celebrating.
Thank you for joining us. I'm Kai Jackson. Mary Bubala is off tonight. Mayor Brandon Scott continues to express optimism in his crime-fighting strategy. Shortly after 7 o'clock this evening, 3 people were shot inside the McElderry Park Safe Street zone. One of the victims, a 14-year-old boy, and it's where the mayor touted Safe Street success today. We have team coverage tonight as we continue to push for accountability and transparency from elected leaders. Mackenzie Frost has more on the multi-million-dollar Safe Streets funding announcement by Mayor Scott.
How petty cash is spent at the various Safe Streets locations, why some workers are going to New York City, and how are mediations tracked and reported are all questions we've been asking throughout this investigation. Despite some of those unanswered questions, Mayor Brandon Scott doubling down on his commitment, announcing new funding going to the Safe Streets program.
Good morning, and thank you all for being here.
The community violence intervention ecosystem, something Mayor Brandon Scott has been talking about for a year. A web of programs working to curb the gun violence crisis gripping Baltimore for almost the last decade.
The work is ever evolving.
While touting the efforts and plans to expand,
Let's talk about Safe Streets.
the focus remains on Safe Streets, an anchor, as Shantae Jackson says, the director of the Mayor's Office of Neighborhood Safety and Engagement. Despite digging for details about how the program is working to save lives and working to bring more information about accountability surrounding the millions of dollars to the program forward,
Monty will invest ARPA dollars in Safe Streets administration for the first time of $5 million.
Fox 45 News has gone to all the locations multiple times. The city limits Safe Streets workers from speaking to Fox 45 News about their efforts.
Say no statements whatsoever. Y'all have a great day.
Through our investigation, we found Safe Streets locations allowed to have up to $500 in petty cash a month, and we have yet to find out how that money is being spent. Does the city or the CBOs have the receipts for the petty cash that each location has and how that money is spent?
We'll follow up with you. We know that these programs, again, Mackenzie, that have been proven not by us and analyzed not by the city of Baltimore, independently by Johns Hopkins, one of the most prestigious and well-respected institutions in the world, to say that this program works. And that's what we should be talking about today.
The mayor's office never following up with us. And here's that Johns Hopkins report touted by the mayor. He and Director Jackson point to the effectiveness of Safe Streets outlined in the pages as justification for pouring more money into the efforts. They also don't mention the city commissioned the study and spent nearly $150,000 for it. The Hopkins study also says that there was no significant change in homicides in the 6 newer program locations for the Safe Streets program. After more than a year of asking the city to show the public how violence interrupters do their mediation, what counts as a mediation, and track the progress.
And in partnership with Administrators Catholic Charities and LifeBridge Health, Monty will be producing quarterly and annual Safe Streets reports.
No timeline given for when those details will be shared with the city about a program partly funded with city taxpayer dollars. Given the renewed push to continue with Safe Streets, a program with a rocky track record of effectiveness, transparency, and accountability, we renewed our push for more details. Will you and Director Jackson agree to do an interview with us to talk about this moving forward and how this $5 million will help grow the Safe Streets locations?
Well, again, I think that what you should think about that is, Mackenzie, well, what are you asking for an interview? Let's get that question very clearly. What do you want to interview us about? The success of Safe Streets?
I would talk about the Safe Streets program, yes. You and Director Jackson.
We'll get back to you and let you know about that.
Why won't you?
I didn't say that we wouldn't. Next question.
Mayor and Director Jackson's teams ignoring our follow-up questions about how exactly the new $5 million will be spent and about setting up that interview. This entire ecosystem also includes putting violence intervention programs in 3 different high schools across Baltimore. When it was first announced, the efforts were supposed to launch in the spring of this school year, but now the city says it'll begin in the fall. We asked the city why the delay, and again, those questions ignored. In the newsroom, Mackenzie Frost, Fox 45 News.
Now, we want to show you something again. This from Orleans Street in McElderry Park. These are all the evidence markers left behind by detectives tonight investigating the triple shooting. Think about the gunfire and how frightened everyone must have been in this situation, including the 14-year-old who was wounded. Now, while he is expected to survive, he could have lost his life. In less than 4 months, in fact, 10 juveniles have been killed in Baltimore. The other bars on the graph represent years we're on pace to surpass. Mayor Brandon Scott this afternoon, however, still expressed confidence in his crime-fighting strategy.
Yes, I'm very confident that we're going to be able to move GVRS as we're continuing to move in the right direction.
Alexa Ashwell will continue our team coverage coming up at 10:30, breaking down the crime trends as summer approaches. New tonight, with crime on the top of the minds of many, more people are leaving Baltimore than coming in. In fact, the city's population has been dropping for more than a decade. Fox 45's Rebecca Pryor spent the day speaking with city residents to find out why that's the case. Rebecca, what did you learn?
Kai, residents that I spoke with say from high crime to low-performing schools, there's a number of reasons that residents are considering leaving Baltimore, and in many cases, few reasons they'd think to stay.
Sitting at a crowded bus stop in northwest Baltimore City, Sharon Wimbish is missing the sights and scenes of her childhood home.
I think a lot of the people have lost faith in where we're living.
While Wimbish has lived within city limits for the majority of her adult life, her younger years were spent just 10 miles up the road in Baltimore County. But she says the brief distance made a world of a difference.
And I thought about how peaceful it was when I grew up, how clean it was where I grew up. And I said to myself, I would not mind moving back there.
And she's not alone. According to data from the U.S. Census, Baltimore City's population has been plummeting for more than a decade. From 2010 to 2020, Baltimore City's population fell by roughly 35,000 residents, a nearly 6% loss. As for what's to blame?
Crime rate.
Crime is beyond control.
All the murder that is going on.
Residents we spoke with say high crime is causing the loss. Others pointing to high property taxes and low-performing schools.
If you can't move your children out of Baltimore City schools, you do it.
And it's wrong for politicians to assume that they can just give people a poor quality of life and that they'll just stick with them. They're clearly not.
Eurypsy Morgan is a member of local activist group PEACE, which stands for People for Elected Accountability and Civic Engagement. She says when residents seek a change of scenery, they're voting with their feet, a large portion of whom are from Black and brown communities, who Morgan believes are tired of battling decades of disinvestment.
Our neighborhoods are crumbling, there are vacant lots everywhere, and they're seeing investment in other parts of the city, but not in theirs.
They're leaving to live someplace better.
Still, whether you have plans to move,
nobody's happy anymore,
or you're just considering a change,
I might leave Baltimore.
most city residents can agree Pockets of charm can and will always be found in Charm City.
Baltimore City is a great historical city. We have some amazing things here, and I'm here to stay, and I love Baltimore City.
So the reality is that, yes, Baltimore City has so much incredible potential, but until elected officials are held accountable to what residents want, then I think we're going to continue to see this level of people, of population loss, and that's heartbreaking.
And when we asked residents to rank the main reason they'd consider leaving the city, almost all of them said crime was at the top of their list. Reporting live in Baltimore City, Rebecca Pryor, Fox 45 News.
Thank you, Rebecca. And new census data shows a sharp decline continuing during the pandemic. Baltimore's lost more than 13,000 people, according to Census Bureau's estimate. That's almost enough to fill up the newly renovated CFG Bank Arena. Now, as part of our Your Voice, Your Future town hall last night, panelists discussed what they're calling a leadership crisis in Baltimore and around the state.
Too many of our leaders at almost every level has pretty much slapped our kids on the wrist, and then we turn around and we blame the parents. We want to charge the parents and everything else. But like you said, you made it easy for law enforcement to kind of back up. You've taken so many tools out of the tool belt for law enforcement.
If you missed last night's town hall, you can catch it right here this Sunday, April 30th at 3 p.m. The town hall will also air twice on Saturday on MyTV at 3 p.m. as well, and the CW Baltimore at 7 p.m. Or you can watch it anytime on our website, foxbaltimore.com. And that brings us to our question of the day. Would you vote for Mayor Brandon Scott for a second term? Yes or no? Head to our website, foxbaltimore.com/vote to weigh in. We'll check in on those results coming up at 10:30.
Next, weather makers moving in already. You can see some of the showers out to our west on the HT radar, and they are moving east. So as we look through the overnight hours, it's just going to be kind of chilly. Lows right around 40 by morning. Notice the clouds increasing, and then some of the rain by the time we're getting very close to the PM commute. I'm going to let you know how much more we're going to see through the afternoon commute tomorrow and what we're looking at for the next several days. Things turning very unsettled. It's all on my Weather Authority forecast.
Still ahead on Fox 45 News at 10 o'clock tonight. New speed cameras are coming to the city of Baltimore, which already ranks near the top when it comes to issuing tickets, where they're going, and what you need to know to avoid fines. President Biden officially launches his 2024 presidential campaign. The economic and polling data pointing to possible trouble for a second term. And ahead at 10:30, Baltimore still has a problem with illegal dumping around the city. In fact, years of complaints about a mountain of garbage have apparently gone ignored. We'll make one man's voice heard coming up. New tonight, several students from Meade Middle School in Fort Meade are taken to the hospital after someone set off pepper spray on their school bus. Now, that school bus, by the way, stopped where 198 and 32 meet. That's near Tipton Airport. In all, 50 people were on board the bus. Anne Arundel County school officials tell Fox 45 News the two students involved have been identified, and the school will take appropriate action regarding those children. Two new speed cameras will start snapping pictures of motorists in Baltimore City, but some question whether they will work, not just improving safety, but issuing the right tickets. Fox 45's Jeff Abel is right now with Baltimore's struggles when it comes to speed cameras. And Jeff, I imagine no one you spoke with was happy about these new cameras.
Very, very few, but the number of these cameras that are now patrolling city streets is at its greatest level ever. And so are concerns tonight about their accuracy. Welcome to Baltimore's newest traffic enforcement zone, where motorists zooming through Medfield will soon be clocked by a speed camera.
Will definitely help because there are like very small kids that they come and cross.
This is one of 2 communities which will soon become part of the city's photo enforcement program, a program with a very shady past. The city has twice shut down the program in the past 10 years. Auditors found 10% of the tickets it issued were actually erroneous.
It just flashed. It's like a money maker.
6 years ago, the city jump-started its photo enforcement program for a 3rd time, and it has rapidly expanded, starting with 23 cameras in 2017 and adding more and more each year. Today, with the city's 2 new additions, the city's speed camera fleet tops 152.
I'm not convinced in any way, shape, or form that the actual cameras are working accurately.
Gene Simmers is a retired highway traffic engineer who predicts the expanding speed camera program will create even greater problems. State law requires every citation issued be reviewed and signed by a police officer.
How do you expect Baltimore City Police, who are already hundreds and hundreds below authorization levels, how do you expect them to detail more police officers to review speed camera citations?
In fact, an audit performed the year after the city restarted its program found almost 3% of citations had mistakes. Auditors also found that record-keeping was so sloppy they couldn't accurately determine how much revenue the cameras had generated.
They need to stop people from speeding. I'd rather have a police officer.
For now, the cameras keep multiplying, and so do the questions.
The city is assuming that every time a camera takes a picture of someone supposedly speeding, that it's true. And I don't believe that.
Well, if you're wondering just how much money is generated by these cameras, we're told that those 2 new cameras on the JFX that went into place earlier this year have generated $3 million in the first 60 days. We're live tonight. Jeff Abel, Fox 45 News.
Jeff, thank you. Some important information that you should know about speed cameras. In city school zones, they are supposed to be set to catch you if you're speeding by 12 miles per hour or greater. Now, the cameras are only active Monday through Friday and only turned on from 6 in the morning until 8 at night. Points will not be assessed to your license. Dear Maria, count me in for this year's Maryland State Fair music lineup. All Time Low is headlining on Friday, September 8th. May Day Parade and Gym Class Heroes will also be there. Then on Saturday, September 9th, Quinn 92 takes the stage. Tickets are going on sale this Friday at 10 a.m. on the State Fair's website. The fair begins the weekend of August 24th. We'll see you there. And take a look at this. Maryland Governor Wes Moore has proclaimed this month Autism Acceptance Month in our state. The governor says this month and every month, Maryland will celebrate the autism community and continue to advocate for them. The governor honored Marcus Moore, an individual living with autism. Marcus and his family created More Crunch pretzels. And take a look at this incredible rescue in Anne Arundel County. This is Corporal Brian Hunt with the Department of Natural Resources Police, who came to the rescue of an injured osprey yesterday. He was able to corral the bird, and it was taken to the Owl Moon Raptor Center, where it's now being treated. Now to this harrowing video from Minnesota. It shows someone jumping from an overpass to escape police. Take a look at this on your screen. Look at that. It happened this past Sunday. It's just south of St. Paul. You can see a driver being handcuffed, then a passenger exiting that car and trying to run away. That person then jumped off the bridge and was treated for their injuries. Police say they stopped the car in connection with a robbery investigation. A tragic loss today. We remember the life of civil rights activist and entertainer Harry Belafonte.
President Biden launching his re-election campaign, but can he win with the economy as is? I'm Atrell Nashar with a closer look coming up.
Well, a giant in civil rights activist and entertainer Harry Belafonte has died. Born in Harlem, New York, Belafonte was one of the first black actors to break through in Hollywood. As a singer, he was known for his smooth voice and smash hit Banana Boat song, also known as Deo. Harry Belafonte was also a civil rights leader, marching in protests and holding benefit concerts in the 1960s. He worked closely with Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Belafonte passed away with his wife Pamela by his side. He was 96 years old. President Biden and Vice President Kamala Harris officially announced their 2024 re-election bid today. Polls show the economy and inflation continue to be top issues for voters. National correspondent Dr. El-Nashar has the story.
The President of the United States, Joe Biden.
President Biden, once again, a presidential candidate. In his first remarks since launching his campaign Tuesday, promoting his economic agenda.
It's time to finish the job.
Drawing a contrast with Republicans.
They believe the best way to grow the economy is from the top down, and then to watch the benefits trickle down to the rest of us.
A new poll by The Economist and YouGov shows American adults continue to rank inflation and jobs in the economy as their top issues. But the president's approval ratings on both issues are underwater.
We will get through this together.
When President Biden took office in January 2021, the nation was still reeling from the pandemic. Vaccines not yet widely available, and the economy essentially at a standstill. Unemployment was 6.3%. Now it's tied for a 50-year low at 3.5%. Annual inflation was just 1.4%, spiking over the next year and a half, peaking at 9.1%, falling last month to 5%.
I know that there's a lot of pessimism out there, and you can't ignore the fact that there is high inflation, or at least relatively high inflation. At this juncture, I don't see the economy being a slam dunk for the incumbent, in this case Biden, or something that's going to be a big negative, because again, the economy is solid, it's sound. It's not doing great. It's doing good.
Economic issues have plagued one-term presidencies in the past. High unemployment under President Gerald Ford, soaring inflation under President Jimmy Carter, and under President George H.W. Bush, sluggish GDP growth and a soaring poverty rate. Those conditions are far worse than the present, but that's not stopping the president's opponents from making it a target. In Washington, I'm El-Nashar.
And we'd like you to join the national conversation. Do you believe you're better off today than you were when President Biden took office? You can answer yes or no. You can vote by scanning the QR code you see on your screen. Take out your phone and point it at the QR code, and then go to our question of the day.
I'm ashamed to invite anybody here, including you people coming here to take pictures of it. It's ridiculous.
Piling on, trash complaints in Baltimore are nothing new. Fox 45 News tours a severe and recurring case of illegal dumping and makes one resident's plea heard.
We've seen it all over the country at this particular point.
When can your insurance company deny a home disaster claim? Why a growing number of homeowners are saying the process is rigged.
And it may be dry overnight tonight and chilly too, but things are going to be changing. Take a look. Downtown Baltimore falling down to about 47 at 11. Mostly clear skies, partly cloudy at 5 a.m., 43. Clouds increase by 9 a.m., 52. That's a sign of things to come. Umbrellas out by tomorrow afternoon. Dry day Thursday, but some heavy rain again Friday. How about your weekend? Going to plan that out day by day, hour by hour. Coming up, my Weather Authority forecast.
We know that this is not something that we can police our way out of. We know that. When we are literally seeing people be killed by people that they would call their friend over something so small.
Mayor Brandon Scott delivers an update on his administration's work to stop violence. And right now, homicides and non-fatal shootings are down when compared to this time last year. But on a night in which 6 people are shot in a span of 5 hours, some do question whether Baltimore is turning a corner. Alexa Ashwell has the story.
Right now, homicides and non-fatal shootings are down. We also found the city finished the first quarter of this year with 64 homicides. That's a 25% drop compared to 2022's first quarter. But we also found year after year in the data that as the months get warmer, crime increases.
It was a violent start to April here in Baltimore, with 2 teens shot at the Inner Harbor on Easter Sunday. And while homicides and non-fatal shootings are down across the city compared to this time last year, historically, crime increases in the warmer months. Here, a breakdown of the year-to-year homicide data showing since 2017, homicides have increased from the first quarter of the year to the second quarter, including since Mayor Brandon Scott's time in office. Last year, homicides jumped 23% when comparing January, February, and March numbers to quarter 2, which includes April, May, and June. 2021 homicides increased by 30%. The mayor questioned, in a city that's seen more than 300 homicides a year for the past 8 years, if he's confident these numbers will stay down.
I'm confident that we will continue to work each and every day.
The mayor taking his answer to his holistic approach to reducing crime, mentioning the creation of the Community Violence Intervention Ecosystem and plans to expand the group violence reduction strategy.
We want that percentage to grow in the right direction, and that's what we're going to work towards every day from a standpoint of doing the both and. From our CVI work that includes the totalness of what we're trying to do to reduce violent crime.
But the mayor receiving some pushback as an integral part of GVRS calls for focused police resources, and the department remains nearly 500 officers short.
This one is critical. This one, I would dare say, is the most critical. It gets to the department's ability to immediately respond to a crisis.
Yes, I'm very confident that we're going to be able to move GVRS as we're continuing to move in the right direction. We've already expanded into another district. GVRS is a working program that we're going to continue to expand in Baltimore City, period.
The mayor doubling down on his approach as the city enters warmer months that historically come with more crime.
Another mandate that will call for additional police resources, the mayor's citywide youth curfew, which will go into effect in about a month. Reporting outside police headquarters, Alexa Ashwell, Fox 45 News.
Youth violence in schools and throughout the city is a major concern for Baltimore leaders. This morning, Fox 45 News spoke with Dr. Letitia Jaraza, who recently was promoted to the city's response of juvenile crime, asking what can be done to enforce the mayor's new curfew plan and crack down.
The Mayor's Office of Neighborhood Safety and Engagement is leading the effort to establish what the curfew centers will look like, right? We are rethinking them. There have been previous iterations, but again, our focus is not on penalizing these young folks. Our focus is really on how do we provide them with the additional support, wraparound services that they need so that they can be in a safe space.
Dr. Draza also said the city's goal is not to increase children's exposure to police, but will work closely with the Baltimore Police Department to make sure children are following the curfew and getting home safely. From crime to crime, a West Baltimore man says trash has been piling up behind his home for years, and despite his complaints, he says the city hasn't done anything to help. Maxine Stryker pressed DPW for answers.
If they don't do something about it, it's going to get worse and worse. It's not going to get better.
For decades, one man who didn't want to be identified has lived here along Lehman Street.
86 years.
From the front, it looks like your typical West Baltimore home.
It wasn't like this. Walk over here with me a minute, honey. I want to show you something.
But head to the back and you'll find it's a different story.
I'm ashamed to invite anybody here, including you people coming here to take pictures of it. It's ridiculous.
Piled up behind this 86-year-old man's home.
I'm as old as the trash. That's how long I've been here. Well, you see a mattress, you see a sofa, you see, oh, Lord, what isn't over here? I don't even know.
Mountains of trash.
Reclining chair, there's a mop, there's a baby set, 2 of them baby things that you put babies in a car. There's another sofa.
And he says that trash attracts plenty of wildlife, from rats
cats come up there
to cats.
Oh yeah, there's one sitting up there now.
The problem, he says, is nothing new.
They come in at night and pull back in there and dump the stuff out and just throw it anywhere.
In fact, he has paperwork that proves the city has known about it since he started calling to complain 6 years ago.
Since 2017, here's the paperwork.
In 2017, a housing code enforcement official issued several violations for the property behind his. It's noted the owner had been deceased since 1994. Then again, in 2021, another violation order at the same address cites several derelict vehicles.
Year after year, called the city. They come out a while ago and took a little trash from beside that car right there, but they never touched none of this.
He says over the years, nothing significant has been done to clean up the view from his back porch.
What the city does, they put a Band-Aid on something. Band-Aid ain't gonna help a broken arm.
And now he's losing hope in the city ever cleaning up the trash.
Clean the damn mess up, that's all. Nothing else, just get it the hell out of here.
Maxine Stryker, Fox 45 News.
Right now, a group of city residents is suing Baltimore over recycling. The mayor says the city will return to weekly recycling pickup next year, but residents argue the city is violating its own charter. This month, Mayor Brandon Scott launched a 90-day campaign called Baltimore Blitz. Crews will be cleaning 900 graffiti tags and filling 9,000 potholes. Now, back in February, the mayor also launched a Clean Core initiative. 6 nonprofits will be given nearly $15 million to hire Baltimore residents to clean up 16 low-income neighborhoods. Some council members have already pushed back on that.
Why in the world would the administration give $15 million towards privatization of community groups to perform these functions and to hire people when that's exactly what we're trying to do? Further shows how out of touch some decision makers are when it comes to the needs and infrastructure needs in the city.
Well, that brings us to our question of the day. Would you vote for Mayor Brandon Scott for a second term? Yes or no? So far, 97% of those who voted say no. 3% say yes. You can head to foxbaltimore.com/vote to weigh in. Taking a look right now at the Fox box. On the top left, the Taliban has killed the senior Islamic State group leader, said to have been the mastermind behind the attack on a Kabul airport that killed 13 U.S. service members and 170 Afghans as the U.S. was withdrawing from the country. ISIS-K and the Taliban have been fighting over control. The U.S. is notifying family members of those killed in the botched pullout of Afghanistan. On the top right, the jury has been seated, and now the trial is underway in the civil case against Donald Trump, brought on by writer E. Jean Carroll, who says Trump raped her in the 1990s. The former president is not expected to attend. On the bottom left, Indiana is finalizing legislation that would require school officials to notify parents if a child expresses a desire to change their pronouns at school. It's off to the governor for his signature. And on the bottom right, a California-based cannabis company is offering jobs to all 400 people laid off by Burger King franchises in Michigan. This company only wants the former BK workers' names and contact information.
Why did you want to come forward and talk to us?
Because it's not right.
Legitimate claims are not getting paid.
The story you'll only see here tonight. Why we're seeing a growing number of insurance companies refusing to come to the aid of homeowners. And companies are allowing customers to opt out of Mother's Day marketing emails. Why that's not sitting well with some people. And coming up on the late edition, an emergency meeting about the Laurel racetrack after 5 horses died this month.
And the risk of rain, yes, it begins to come up tomorrow. Could see some showers, maybe even a thunderstorm in the afternoon. And this is just the beginning. I'll let you know when the rain is going to get heaviest and if it impacts your weekend plans in my Weather Authority forecast.